Calm seas turned into chaos when apex predators struck without warning. In this video, you'll watch 6 terrifying shark attack stories. From a 350-pound swimmer torn apart by a great white near Gansbai, to a U.S. Navy sailor dragged underwater during a training mission, to a fatal bull shark attack on a pearl diver in Madagascar. Brace yourself, these are not stories for the faint of heart. Elena Ivanova was not a stranger to the ocean. At 42, standing 5'9" and weighing around 350 pounds, she was a strong, experienced swimmer who often sought refuge from the chaos of city life in Gansbai's cool, salt-scented waters. She found comfort in the rhythmic motion of waves brushing against rocky outcrops where she liked to swim, places that seemed to shield her from the world. That morning of June 4, 2025, the sun rose pale and hazy, the ocean calm and inviting. Elena had planned a quiet swim, aiming to move steadily out from the shore toward a small rocky peninsula where she often rested before turning back. What she did not expect was the sudden surge of terror lurking beneath the surface. As she treaded water near the jagged rocks, savoring the early quiet, the water around her suddenly churned. At first, she felt a deep vibration through the soles of her feet, a strange thrumming that unsettled her. Then, without warning, a monstrous shape exploded upward from the depths like a torpedo. A great white shark, easily 12 feet long and massive in girth, burst through the water's surface, its jaws wide open. The cold horror of the moment struck Elena before she could react. The shark was far closer than any warning signs had ever suggested, breaching just feet from where she floated. Its powerful body crashed down with a sound like a falling tree. Elena's heart hammered fiercely, but her body froze momentarily in disbelief. The creature's dark eyes fixed on her with a terrifying intensity before it lunged. The great white's jaws clamped down on her left thigh with such crushing force that Elena was flung beneath the surface. The cold shock of the bite and the sudden violent pull spun her underwater like a rag doll tossed in a storm. Disoriented, struggling for breath, she fought against the crushing grip that bit deeper into muscle and bone. Her limbs flailed wildly as she tried to pry the monstrous jaws from her leg, but the shark's bite was like steel. The violent movement sent Elena tumbling through the murky water. The rocky seabed flashed past her eyes as the beast dragged her downward, twisting and turning. Every attempt to break free only seemed to enrage the predator further. Her powerful splashes created bubbles that swirled around them, momentarily confusing the shark. For a fleeting moment, its jaws loosened. Elena seized the chance, clawing desperately at the rough skin of the creature's snout and rubbing salt water into its eyes with frantic hands. The shark recoiled slightly, but the respite was brief. Almost instantly, the great white snapped back with savage fury. Its teeth raked into Elena's thigh once again, tearing through flesh in a raw, ripping motion that sent shockwaves of pain shooting through her body. Blood clouded the water, a crimson stain drifting through the blue. Panic surged within Elena as she realized the attack was far from over. Her body screamed in agony, but her mind sharpened to survival. She forced herself to remain conscious, to hold on to every moment and fight with every ounce of strength she had. Meanwhile, on the shore and nearby rocks, several swimmers who had noticed the sudden disturbance sprang into action. They could see the violent thrashing in the water and the unmistakable shape of the shark. A handful of experienced divers and swimmers began throwing gear, buoys, fins, and even snorkels into the water, aiming to distract the predator. Shouts rang out, loud and urgent, breaking the usual peaceful silence of the bay. The noise and the flying objects created chaos around the shark, pulling its attention intermittently away from Elena. The great white, massive and relentless, lashed its tail and thrashed violently, reacting to the confusion, but refusing to let go. Elena's vision blurred as pain overwhelmed her, but she forced herself to stay alert, moving her free leg and arms in wild, desperate strokes. The strength in her arms, honed from years of swimming, kept her fighting, even as blood poured from the deep wounds. The water churned red as the battle between human and beast reached a desperate peak. Despite the frantic distractions, the shark's grip remained deadly. Elena's breathing became ragged, the shock and blood loss threatening to pull her under. She felt the terrible weight of her own body in the water, heavy and vulnerable, but something inside refused to give in. She kicked fiercely with her uninjured leg, pushing against the beast's pressure as best as she could. The rocky outcrop she had aimed for that morning was now a faint beacon, a distant hope she clung to in her struggle. Almost a full minute passed in this brutal contest. Elena's muscles screamed, and her vision blurred, but slowly the tide of the battle began to turn. The combined efforts of the swimmers on the shore, the scattering of objects in the water, and Elena's own fierce resistance created a break in the shark's assault. The great white suddenly released its grip with a violent snap of its jaws and thrashed away into the depths. The water settled quickly around Elena, now floating in a haze of pain and shock, her leg a ruined mess of torn flesh and bone. Rescue came swiftly. Nearby swimmers reached her side, pulling her from the water onto a small rescue boat that had been launched in response to the commotion. Elena's breathing was shallow, and the blood loss was severe, but she was alive. They applied makeshift bandages while racing toward the shore, their faces grim with urgency. Despite the chaos, Elena's gaze held a stubborn flicker of life, a testament to her strength and willpower. Doctors later described the attack as one of the most ferocious in the region's recent history, especially because of Elena's size and the shark's persistence. Great white sharks typically avoid large, active humans and rarely target swimmers in such a violent manner. Elena's survival was nothing short of remarkable. She lost a great deal of blood and faced months of recovery, but her fight in those terrifying minutes revealed a resilience few could match. The aftermath of the attack rippled through the local community. Warnings were posted and lifeguards increased patrols, but the mystery of what triggered the shark's sudden aggression remained unsolved. Some speculated that a recent influx of seals had drawn the great whites closer to shore. Others thought the shark might have been injured or sick, altering its behavior. Elena herself refused to be defined by the attack. In her hospital room, surrounded by medical staff and family, her thoughts drifted beyond the pain and trauma to the ocean she loved and the uncertain future ahead. The U.S. Navy patrol boat Vigilant had been cruising steadily off the rugged coast of South Africa during a routine training exercise. The crew, a mix of seasoned sailors and fresh recruits, was practicing maneuvers designed to prepare them for any threat on the open seas. Lieutenant James Caldwell, the commanding officer, had spent 15 years in the Navy, hardened by countless missions. His crew respected his calm under pressure, but nothing could have prepared them for what came next. The ocean was deceptively calm that morning, the sun shining bright over glassy blue waters that stretched endlessly. The Vigilant was a sturdy 60-foot patrol vessel, built for speed and endurance, but no match for the forces lurking beneath the waves. As the boat cut through the water, vibrations and splashes from its powerful engines stirred the marine life beneath the surface. Something large was moving just below, unseen but felt by the crew. Radar picked up unusual activity, but no solid contacts. The sailors joked nervously, unaware of the danger circling silently beneath the patrol boat. Suddenly, the water erupted as a massive great white shark surged to the surface. It was a colossal predator, nearly 20 feet long, its body thick with muscle and power. The great white circled the Vigilant, eyes fixed on the vessel, attracted by the noise and movement. The first sign of trouble came as the shark's snout slammed into the boat's hull with a deep, resonant thud that vibrated through the deck. The impact was fierce, jarring the crew and rattling equipment. The Vigilant shuddered, waves crashing over the bow as the shark rammed it again and again. The sailors exchanged tense glances, recognizing this was no ordinary curiosity. This was an attack. Lieutenant Caldwell barked orders, his voice steady but urgent. The crew scrambled to ready all defensive measures. Water cannons were activated, spraying powerful jets into the turbulent sea. Loudspeakers blasted high-pitched sounds designed to scare off marine predators. Men pounded metal surfaces with tools, creating sharp, alarming noises. Yet, the shark persisted, circling wider before charging the hull again. The shark's jaws slammed against the metal side of the Vigilant with a terrifying crunch. Teeth the size of knives scraped and bit into the steel, leaving deep gouges and punctures. The hull creaked under the assault, water flooding in small rivulets along the damaged seams. The vessel rocked violently, threatening to destabilize. Crew members struggled to maintain their footing as waves swept across the deck. Amid the chaos, Petty Officer Ryan Mitchell, a fit and agile sailor with 3 years of service, was stationed near the starboard rail, manning one of the water cannons. His eyes stayed locked on the water's surface, watching the shark's every move. As the beast lunged for the hull once more, Mitchell leaned forward to aim a more focused blast. The sudden violent motion of the boat, however, caught him off guard. A massive wave crashed over the deck, drenching the sailors and sending equipment sliding. Mitchell lost his balance, feet slipping on the slick metal. In an instant, he tumbled over the railing and plunged into the cold, churning ocean. The water closed over his head as he struggled to regain control, adrenaline flooding his veins. The moment Mitchell hit the water, the great white reacted instantly. The massive predator turned sharply, closing the distance between them with terrifying speed. Its jaws snapped open wide, revealing rows of serrated teeth designed for tearing flesh. Before Mitchell could fully orient himself, the shark clamped down hard on his left arm, dragging him downward beneath the waves. Screams and shouts erupted from the deck as sailors rushed to the rail. Lieutenant Caldwell's voice cut through the noise, ordering immediate rescue efforts. Sailors grabbed ropes, life rings, and flotation devices, throwing them toward Mitchell as he struggled underwater, fighting to break free. The water churned violently, a frantic battle between man and beast unfolding beneath the surface. Mitchell's powerful kicks and desperate punches landed on the shark's snout and sides, but the predator's grip remained unyielding. The pain was unbearable, sharp teeth crushing bone and tearing muscle, blood streaming into the ocean and clouding the water. His heart pounded fiercely, the cold shock threatening to drag him into unconsciousness. Yet he fought with every ounce of strength, refusing to surrender. Above, sailors coordinated efforts, throwing more gear into the water to distract the shark. Some splashed violently, drawing its attention away from Mitchell. A few launched additional water cannon blasts, jets cutting through the water in frantic attempts to repel the predator. The Vigilant rocked under the continuing assault, but the crew's focus was solely on saving their comrade. Slowly, the combined efforts began to pay off. The shark loosened its grip just enough for Mitchell to twist and break free from its crushing jaws. Gasping and bleeding, he surged toward the surface, guided by the hands and ropes extended from the deck. Several sailors hauled him aboard amid cries of relief and grim determination. Once on deck, Mitchell was immediately treated by the ship's medic. His left arm was mangled, deep bite wounds exposing shattered bone and torn muscle. Blood pooled on the deck, the scent sharp and metallic. The medic applied pressure bandages as quickly as possible, stabilizing him despite the severity of the injuries. The sailor's breathing was ragged, but he was alive. Lieutenant Caldwell took stock of the situation. The Vigilant's hull showed clear damage, deep gouges, dented metal plates, and water seeping through the battered side. The shark's presence had forced an abrupt end to the training exercise, and a return to base was now urgent. Despite the damage, the boat remained seaworthy, but the psychological impact on the crew was profound. The attack had lasted mere minutes, but the memory of the Great White's power lingered heavily in the air. This was no typical shark sighting. It was a violent, deliberate assault on a military vessel and its crew. The Navy had trained for many threats, but the raw force of this apex predator was a stark reminder of nature's unpredictability. Even steel and firepower could not fully protect them from the ocean's fiercest hunter. As the Vigilant limped back to port, the crew's silence was thick with unspoken thoughts. Mitchell was rushed to a naval hospital upon arrival, his injuries serious but not fatal. Surgeons warned he would face months of rehabilitation, and his arm would forever be changed by the attack. Yet his survival was a testament to his grit and the quick, coordinated response of his shipmates. For the sailors aboard the USS Vigilant, the memory of that day was a haunting blend of fear and respect, a battle at the edge of survival against a creature older and more powerful than any they had faced before. Andrei Rakoto had been diving the shallow, murky waters off Madagascar's coast for years. At 29, he was a skilled pearl diver, part of a small community relying on the ocean's treasures for survival. Lean and strong from daily dives, Andrei knew the risks, but trusted his experience. That morning, gray clouds hung low as he waded into the warm water near a coral reef, searching for oysters and shellfish that might hold valuable pearls. The water was thick and visibility was poor, but Andrei moved steadily, confident in his routine. Beneath the calm surface, danger lurked. Bull sharks patrolled these coastal waters, powerful, aggressive hunters that could strike without warning. Andrei had seen their shadows before, but never faced one directly. His focus was on the task, unaware that the ocean was about to turn deadly. Without warning, the water shifted violently. A massive bull shark burst upward from the depths, its heavy body slicing through the water with deadly speed. Nearly 12 feet long, its dark eyes locked on Andre. There was no time to react. The shark's jaws snapped shut around Andre's right thigh with crushing force. Pain exploded through his body as teeth tore muscle and bone. The violent thrashing yanked him away from the reef and into open, deeper water. Blood spread quickly, turning the water a dark red. Andre struggled fiercely, twisting and kicking, desperate to break free. His fingers clawed at the shark's rough snout, searching for a weakness. The reef, once his refuge, faded behind him as the predator dragged him farther from safety. The shark thrashed violently, tossing Andre like a rag doll, each movement sending waves crashing on the surface. Above, fellow divers and fishermen saw the chaos unfold. Horror gripped their faces as they watched Andre's body flail in the water, the shark circling below. They shouted warnings and threw gear into the sea, hoping to distract the beast, but the bull shark remained relentless, focused solely on its prey. A group of divers plunged into the water, swimming fast toward Andre. Their hearts pounded with fear and determination. One held a spear gun, aiming to fend off the shark. Another reached to pull Andre free, but the predator's grip was ironclad, its strength overwhelming. The struggle beneath the waves was brutal and chaotic. Despite the rescuers' efforts, Andre was dragged under. The sea swallowed him whole, his body vanishing beneath the turbulent surface. The divers fought panic, desperately trying to keep the shark at bay, but it slipped away with its victim into the depths. On shore, the fishing community stood frozen in shock, faces drained of color. Loved ones rushed to the water's edge, their hearts breaking. Word spread fast. A young man lost to the ocean, a grim reminder of the dangers beneath the waves. Local authorities launched a search that stretched into the afternoon but found no trace of Andre. The shark had disappeared with its prey, leaving only disturbed water and silence. Divers and fishermen gathered, sharing stories heavy with grief and fear. The attack cast a dark shadow over their lives, a warning that the ocean's power was never far away. Shark attacks in these waters were rare but deadly when they occurred. Pearl diving was a centuries-old tradition, passed down through generations. The divers braved not only the physical demands of their craft, but the threat of predators like bull sharks, lurking in the murky depths. Andre's death sparked urgent calls for better safety, improved gear, warning systems, and awareness of shark behavior. Experts explained that bull sharks' unique ability to thrive in both saltwater and freshwater allowed them to travel close to shore and up rivers where people gathered. Environmental changes and human activity might be pushing them closer to shore, increasing dangerous encounters. The delicate balance between predator and prey was shifting, leaving humans more exposed. Despite the loss, the community refused to abandon their way of life. The ocean was their home and their future. They mourned Andre, but knew respect and caution were vital. Training programs taught divers how to react to shark attacks, while communication systems aimed to warn groups of recent sightings. Andre's story became a solemn lesson. Beneath the ocean's beauty, danger waited patiently. His last moments haunted the reef where he had worked for years, a silent warning carved into the sea. The attack revealed the ocean's deadly side, where survival depended on skill, luck, and respect for the wild. For those who continued diving, the ocean remained a place of mystery and risk. Each descent was a test of courage against forces beyond control. Andre's death was a harsh reminder of the fragile line between life and death beneath the waves. As the sun set, casting long shadows over the water, the community held a quiet vigil for their lost diver. They honored his memory and the sacrifices of those living in the ocean's shadow. The attack was a sharp reminder that no matter how familiar the sea seemed, it held secrets and dangers ready to strike without warning. In the weeks that followed, safety efforts intensified. Divers used shark deterrents and traveled in larger groups. They shared information openly, determined to prevent another tragedy. Yet fear lingered beneath every splash and wave. Andre's story entered the oral history of the community, a tale of tragedy, warning, and respect for nature's power. The brutal attack on that murky morning was not forgotten. It stood as a lasting testament to the ocean's wildness and the price paid by those who dared to challenge it. Anna Petrova had come to South Africa's Eastern Cape seeking adventure, eager to experience the thrill of the ocean. At 27, she was an active woman, fit and energetic. traveling alone on a vacation that combined sightseeing with occasional adrenaline-fueled activities. On a bright and sunny afternoon, Anna joined a group of tourists for a banana boat ride, a popular attraction near the shore that promised fun and excitement. The inflatable boat, bright yellow and long enough to carry several passengers, bounced lightly over gentle waves as it sped across the calm coastal waters. The sky was clear, the sun warm against the skin, and the ocean glittered with a deceptive peace. Underneath, however, a great white shark was patrolling the area. At least 15 feet long and weighing close to 2,000 pounds, the massive predator was a silent force of nature, perfectly adapted to these waters. It moved with stealth and power, drawn by the vibrations and splashes caused by the boat and its riders. As the banana boat made a slow, twisting pass near a rocky outcrop, the water suddenly erupted. The shark surged upward from the depths with terrifying speed, breaching just a few feet from the inflatable craft. With a force that rocked the boat violently, the shark slammed into its side, sending waves of water spraying into the air. The sudden impact threw several riders from their seats, flailing as they hit the cold water. Anna was among those thrown into the sea. As she hit the water, the shock of the impact stunned her for a moment, but she fought to regain control, kicking hard and trying to keep afloat. She caught a glimpse of the shark as it twisted beneath the surface, its massive jaws opening wide. Suddenly, the predator lunged toward her, snapping its teeth onto her right leg with brutal force. Pain exploded as teeth sank deep into flesh and muscle. Anna thrashed wildly, trying to break free. The shark's jaws clamped again, this time catching her arm as she struggled to kick and push away. The water churned red with blood as the great white shook its head violently, trying to tear her apart. Panic surged through Anna's mind, but a fierce survival instinct took hold. She kicked the shark hard, striking its snout and eyes, buying herself precious moments. The commotion drew the immediate attention of the boat crew and nearby swimmers. Crew members yelled and splashed aggressively, throwing objects into the water in an attempt to distract the shark. Other tourists who had been thrown into the water swam towards safety, though fear gripped them tightly. The shark hesitated briefly, confused by the sudden barrage of noise and movement. Anna's body was battered and bleeding, but she refused to give in. She struggled toward the boat, her muscles burning, blood mixing with seawater. With help from crew members who extended their hands and ropes, she was pulled aboard the inflatable craft. Her clothes were torn, her skin mangled from the vicious bites, but she was alive. The crew quickly radioed for emergency medical assistance, their voices tense with urgency. Nearby boats diverted course to assist, while swimmers who had witnessed the attack remained on edge, watching anxiously as the great white disappeared beneath the waves. The sea returned to calm, but the memory of violence lingered. Anna's injuries were severe. Deep lacerations ran across her thigh and forearm, muscles exposed and blood pouring freely. Yet she remained conscious, driven by shock and the determination to survive. Paramedics arrived swiftly, stabilizing her wounds and preparing her for transport to a nearby hospital equipped to handle trauma cases. The attack sent shockwaves through the local tourist community and tour operators. Officials launched investigations, reviewing safety protocols for recreational water activities in shark-inhabited waters. New guidelines were introduced, including increased monitoring for shark presence, mandatory safety briefings for riders, and emergency response drills designed to reduce reaction times and improve victim rescue chances. Despite the trauma, Anna's resilience was remarkable. Over the following weeks, she underwent multiple surgeries and intensive physical therapy. Her recovery was painful and slow, but her spirit remained unbroken. She became a symbol of survival and courage, a reminder of the ocean's power and the delicate balance between humans and nature. The attack underscored the risks faced by those who seek thrill and adventure in wild marine environments. The great white shark, an apex predator with few natural enemies, had demonstrated its raw strength and unpredictability. While attacks on humans remained rare, the incident served as a stark warning that beneath the sparkling surface, danger could erupt without notice. For the tour operators, the event was a call to action. They reinforced their commitment to passenger safety by investing in advanced detection technologies and increasing vigilance during water excursions. The region's reputation for wildlife tourism remained intact, but with a heightened awareness of the need for caution. Anna's story traveled far beyond the shores of the Eastern Cape. It was shared in news reports and safety seminars, inspiring changes in how thrill-seekers approach the ocean. Her survival was a testament to human endurance, quick response, and the bravery of those who risked everything to help her. Though the attack had shaken her deeply, Anna refused to let fear dictate her future. She returned to the water months later, cautious but undeterred, determined to honor the ocean she loved while respecting its dangers. The great white shark attack marked a turning point in her life, a brutal encounter that left scars, but also a fierce determination to live fully. That sunny afternoon, what had started as a day of excitement and laughter had turned into a fight for life. The great white shark's unexpected assault on the banana boat was a chilling reminder of nature's unpredictability and the thin line between thrill and terror. Anna's survival was nothing short of extraordinary, a story of struggle and hope beneath the waves. Sergei Ivanov was a promising young naval recruit, 24 years old, dedicated and disciplined, with dreams of a long career beneath the waves. His training had taken him to the warm waters off Mozambique's coast, where the Navy conducted rigorous submarine escape drills designed to prepare sailors for the worst. The routine was demanding, mentally and physically, testing their ability to stay calm while escaping a submerged vessel and swimming to safety. That day, the ocean was a murky gray under a heavy sky. The water near the shore was shallow, filled with suspended sediment stirred up by recent currents. Visibility was poor, but that was part of the challenge. Sergei and his fellow trainees had been briefed thoroughly, knowing that every second counted in such exercises. The moment came when Sergei entered the escape tower of the submerged submarine, his heart steady but alert. He prepared for the ascent, feeling the cold pressure of the water all around him. Then he pushed out of the hatch and began his swim toward the surface, arms steady, legs kicking strongly despite the resistance of the thick water. Unbeknownst to him, a large bull shark lurked nearby, drawn by the vibrations and sudden movement. Bull sharks were known for their aggression and their ability to thrive in shallow, murky waters. This predator moved silently through the shadows, eyes fixed on the swimmer above. Suddenly, the water exploded with violence. The shark launched itself with terrifying speed, jaws wide open, and clamped onto Sergei's right thigh. The crushing force of the bite shattered muscle and bone instantly. Pain tore through Sergei's body like lightning, and his legs went limp for a moment as he fought against the relentless grip. The trainee struggled desperately, trying to kick and punch the massive animal, but the shark was relentless, dragging him downward into the depths where light faded quickly. Sergei's arms flailed wildly, grasping for any hold, any escape, but the current and the predator's strength overwhelmed him. Above, his fellow trainees watched in horror, unable to intervene immediately. They shouted and splashed, trying to distract the shark, but the murky water swallowed the scene, leaving only chaos and fear. A rescue team launched into action instantly, but the dark water and powerful currents worked against them. Minutes passed with agonizing slowness as the rescuers searched frantically. Sergei's body was finally brought to the surface, pale and motionless, his injuries severe beyond survival. Medical personnel fought to stabilize him, but it was clear that he had succumbed to the attack. The tragedy sent shockwaves through the naval community and beyond. Training exercises meant to prepare sailors for emergencies now highlighted a deadly vulnerability. No matter how skilled or prepared, personnel remained at risk from nature's unpredictable dangers. Bull sharks, apex predators of these coastal waters, had claimed a life in an environment where control and safety were supposed to be paramount. An investigation followed, focusing on safety protocols during underwater exercises. Questions arose about the timing and location of drills in shark-infested waters. Could the Navy alter procedures to reduce risk? Should additional protective measures be implemented? The incident demanded urgent answers. For Sergei's comrades, the loss was deeply personal. He had been a respected and well-liked trainee, known for his steady nerves and dedication. The memory of his final moments haunted those who witnessed the attack, a brutal reminder that the ocean's wildness could never be fully tamed. Naval trainers reviewed every aspect of the exercise, balancing the need for realistic training with safety concerns. New guidelines were introduced, including improved monitoring for dangerous wildlife and enhanced emergency response tactics. Yet the inherent risk of the ocean environment remained. Sergei's family mourned their son's death, grappling with the horror of a young life cut short in the service of his country. Memorials were held, honoring his commitment and courage. His story became a solemn lesson in the unpredictable power of the natural world and the limits of human control. The fatal attack was rare but underscored the importance of respecting the environment in which naval operations occur. Despite technology and training, the sea remained a place of danger, where apex predators ruled unseen and without mercy. In the weeks that followed, awareness spread across military and civilian maritime communities. Discussions about shark safety intensified, focusing on ways to coexist safely with these powerful creatures. Education campaigns sought to inform divers and swimmers about shark behavior, encouraging caution without fear. Sergei's death changed the way underwater training was approached in these regions. Protocols adapted to include more detailed environmental assessments, shark deterrent devices, and emergency drills tailored to unexpected wildlife encounters. These changes aimed to prevent another tragedy while preserving the essential skills sailors needed to survive real emergencies. Though the loss was devastating, it sparked necessary conversations about risk, preparedness, and respect for the ocean's dangers. Sergei Ivanov's fatal encounter was a grim reminder that even the most controlled environments could not eliminate the unpredictable threat of nature's hunters. For the naval trainees who continued their journey, Sergei's memory served as a caution and a motivation to train harder, stay vigilant, and honor the sacrifice of a comrade lost beneath the waves. The ocean, vast and mysterious, demanded humility and respect from all who dared to enter its depths. Emma Novak was 31 years old and had spent most of her adult life immersed in the study of coral reefs and marine ecosystems. Her fascination with the ocean matched only by her dedication to protecting it. As a marine biologist specializing in nocturnal reef behavior, she had spent countless hours underwater, documenting the secret lives of sea creatures that only emerged after dark. That evening off the coast of Belize, with the sky fading into darkness and the surface of the sea still and glassy, conditions seemed ideal for the night snorkel she had planned for weeks. Slipping quietly into the water from the side of the anchored research boat, Emma adjusted her mask and began to glide forward, her flashlight cutting thin beams through the inky blackness. The coral reef below glowed faintly under the artificial light, revealing the soft movements of crabs, eels, and bioluminescent plankton drifting gently in the current. The silence was total, except for the faint sound of her breathing through the snorkel, each breath echoing in her ears like distant thunder in the stillness. She moved slowly and deliberately, aware of how disorienting the darkness could be even for a seasoned diver. Every movement was calculated, her fins pushing her carefully through the water so as not to disturb the fragile reef life beneath her. She was focused entirely on her work, taking mental notes, capturing video footage, and marveling at how active the reef became after sunset. Around her, the sea pulsed with life, and Emma felt at ease, almost comforted by the rhythm of it. But just as she drifted past a small coral outcropping, something large and solid brushed against her right leg. The contact was sudden and unexpected, sending a jolt of alarm through her body. Startled, she reflexively kicked her leg hard, trying to push herself away from whatever had touched her. But in that split second, the water erupted with motion, and pain exploded in her calf as a powerful jaw clamped down and held firm. It was a nurse shark, heavy, thick-bodied, and far stronger than she would have expected. Though generally calm and non-aggressive, this one had been disturbed, and its instinctive reaction was immediate and violent. The crushing pressure of the bite wasn't deep enough to tear through the muscle entirely, but it locked her in place with startling strength, pinning her leg just below the knee. Emma's heart pounded wildly as she struggled to keep control, the cold panic rushing through her like a current of its own. Her flashlight spun sideways, throwing light into empty water as she twisted and pulled, trying not to worsen the damage. She knew that thrashing would only escalate the situation, so she forced herself to slow her movements, pressing against the animal's smooth, sandpaper-like skin, trying to push it away without inciting more aggression. Within seconds, her fellow researchers noticed something was wrong and swam toward her through the darkness, their own beams of light flashing across the water as they closed in. They had practiced emergency response before, but nothing truly prepared them for seeing one of their own caught in the jaws of a shark. Moving calmly but urgently, two of them flanked Emma and gently applied pressure to the shark's head and gill area, using slow, steady movements to signal the animal without causing panic. After several tense seconds, the shark finally released its grip, letting go of Emma's leg and gliding silently away into the dark reef, like a shadow returning to its hiding place. She floated, stunned, as her teammates surrounded her, guiding her carefully back to the boat. Blood streamed from the wounds on her leg, creating wisps of red in the water. And though the bite had not severed anything vital, the punctures were deep enough to warrant immediate medical attention. Once aboard, the team quickly wrapped her leg in towels and applied pressure to control the bleeding while signaling for transport to the nearest medical facility. Emma remained conscious, but her body shook uncontrollably, the pain and adrenaline coursing through her in waves. Though the injuries weren't life-threatening, the experience had left a deep emotional scar, the memory of the sudden attack replaying vividly in her mind with every heartbeat. The incident made headlines in scientific circles, not because the injuries were catastrophic, but because it shattered the common assumption that nurse sharks were harmless. Emma, always an advocate for marine life, refused to demonize the animal, insisting that it had acted out of instinct, not malice. Still, the event served as a sobering reminder that any wild creature, no matter how passive or predictable, could become dangerous under the right circumstances. In the weeks that followed, Emma used her platform to speak openly about what had happened, emphasizing the need for respect and caution when interacting with ocean wildlife. She worked with her team to develop new safety protocols for night dives, encouraging other researchers and ecotour operators to be more aware of their surroundings and to reconsider how they approached even the gentlest species. The physical wounds healed quickly, but the emotional impact lingered longer. Emma returned to the water eventually, her first few dives marked by a quiet tension that took time to overcome. Yet she remained committed to her work, more determined than ever to bridge the gap between science and safety. She refused to let fear define her future, instead using the experience to educate others on the unpredictable beauty and danger of the ocean. Her message was clear. The sea offered wonder and knowledge beyond imagination, but it demanded humility in return. No matter how experienced, how careful, or how knowledgeable a person might be, the ocean was wild and alive and governed by rules older than humanity itself. Emma had learned that lesson in the most painful way possible, and she carried it with her into every dive that followed.